That's Chris. He's my best friend. Chris and I have known each other for the vast majority of our lives. We went to elementary school together, and he's the top one. That's what he said. See what I did? It made you think. Or something. Chris and I have been very good friends for most of our lives, since we were even geekier than we are now. We used to play magic cards together. And yeah, well, no, we actually still play magic cards together. Sorry, if that wasn't clear. And so, needless to say, I mean, one of my most vivid memories is of being really young, and we got these little box kits of like how to write a Shakespearean love letter, and and so he was in love with a girl, and I was in love with a girl, and we wrote some just really, truly atrocious things. So, needless to say, we've sat through a lot of Valentine's Day together alone. So, and yeah, Valentine's Day is coming, and it's just the worst thing ever. So here's a love poem. Your mother once told me that on the day you were born, all the birds flew south, and the flowers buried their heads in the ground. She said that autumn exhaled her last breath as your lips parted to inhale your first, and as a child, you played barefoot in the snow. When we met, you were 12 years old, giggling like you knew some secret, eyes just a shade bluer than mine, cheeks as red as my mother's wine glass, intoxicating. Back then, we were grass stains, and palm sweat, pituitary misgivings, and poems that are written only in the hearts of the young. You shook my hand that first time like a tree shaking snow from a bough, and I shivered. Even then, you called me by my full name. William Stanford Knudsen. You always said that the 7 syllables sounded like the second line in an unfinished haiku, and darling, I spent 7 very, very long years wondering what 5 syllables you might have chosen to end me with. Maybe, you want to ride? Tell me what you dream. What do you believe? Shiver, do you remember when we were 16 and every day was summer? Sipping 40 ounces in the basements of strangers. I watched you tattoo doors on fragile hearts, and I learned to believe in God, but not that guy. Our God, who lived in the space between my hand and yours, hitched rides on the exhale of our cigarette smoke and worked nights at the corner 7-Eleven. Darling, when we were 16, I saw God everywhere. I had full conversations with him in the moments we were sitting in complete. The long summer ended, and we woke on your 18th birthday to find winter at our doorstep. Shiver, bitter and lonesome, bring with her a cold wind that crept between the cracks in the walls and settled deep in our bones. Shiver, God moved to Utah. You cut the curls from my head, and we put our summer hearts to bed. But tell me you remember the ghosts. Tell me you remember when the rain uprooted our homes and washed away everything but a clean slate. But tell me you remember denying fate with fingers crossed. And tell me you knew when this was lost, because back then I was kissing. Don't look down into your every movement while you were just biting my tongue. Shiver, you learned from me that love is war. Promises are just a foxhole, and the only reason any of us have ever continued to fight is because it felt so good knowing that any moment that bomb could go off. We learned from each other that hands that reach for flowers often pull back bee stings, but our fingers were swollen still. Darling, my fingers are swollen still, shivering. Tell me you remember wine stains, attic teeth, sitting in the dirt, planting seeds in poems, and these careless words we speak. Never forget that once we walked barefoot in the snow, shivering with winter in our feet. You always called me by my full name. I just called you home.